I would include the baby formula crisis on this list, but we'll start with Roe v. Wade in a potential sign that Roe v. Wade, the debate, is firing up Democratic voters. A new NPR Marist poll finds that 47% of registered voters now say they will support the Democratic candidate in this year's midterm elections, compared to 42% who say they'll back the Republican candidate. Last month, before the leak of that Supreme Court draft opinion overturning Roe v. Wade, 47% of voters supported the Republican candidate versus 44% who supported the Democratic candidate. We've seen this swing toward the Democrats in other recent polls as well. Earlier this month, we reported on a Washington Post ABC News poll that showed Republicans had lost a 10-point lead over Democrats over the past 2 months. And Joe, this directly relates to one of the themes that you've talked about here on Morning Joe, that crazy doesn't win. Democrats now have an issue that really defines them from the Republicans, and their crazy theories, conspiracy theories, the names they call people, but also their support of overturning Roe v. Wade.
Well, we've been talking about it for a month now, saying at some point Democrats need to just talk about how crazy this Republican Party is, how House Republicans are going to be taking power in the fall if things keep going the direction they're going. They're going to be run by people. We've been assured that they're going to be run by people that talk about Jewish space lasers, that talk about bamboo being in ballots from China, that talk about all of these QAnon conspiracy theories, that many of these House Republicans who are backbenchers now, but Kevin McCarthy promises to put into leadership positions, they're pushing all of these QAnon conspiracy theories. They're talking. Let me bring in John Heilemann here, and then they're talking about no exceptions for rape or incest for Roe v. Wade, and I suspect this isn't just about the leaked draft in Roe v. Wade. It's the series of extreme, radical, crazy legislation that is passing state legislatures across the country right now. These trigger laws that protect the rights of a rapist to become a father, but do not protect the rights of a 13-year-old girl who has been raped by an uncle or has been raped by somebody else out in the community. And you have the Oklahoma law going into place, talking about life beginning even before conception. And all of this, John Heilemann, seems to be adding up to a real problem. I call it the Le Pen problem. A woman who was seen more in touch with French voters against Macron, who is considered arrogant by French voters and elitist by French voters. And yet French voters said, yeah, maybe she can relate to us better than Macron, but she's crazy and she's scary and we can't have her running our country. And so here we see these polls. Now, here's yet another one that shows a massive Republican lead going away, and the trend line's actually going in the Democrats' direction.
Yeah, and Joe, I think what's important, I think the bridge here, in a way, you and Mika are saying parallel kind of connected things, right? That the draft opinion from the court has triggered all of this discussion now of abortion and other issues related to privacy. The issues related to QAnon and Jewish space lasers, and those kinds of things are obviously kind of flagrant operatic examples of the Republican Party having gone crazy. For a lot of voters, they seem, I would say, they seem nuts, but they seem like almost cartoonish, right? The Roe v. Wade issue has brought the crazy into a very kind of easily identifiable and easily legible issue that matters to every voter, and particularly matters, obviously, to every female voter in the country. And so you now have the crazy taking on this form that's very tangible and it's going to have potentially have a direct effect on the lives of a lot of American ordinary voters. And I'll say, to your point, Joe, last week there's a Republican state Senate candidate in the great state of Michigan, endorsed by Donald Trump, who was on a Right to Life broadcast and was asked about The host basically said, the left is going to say she's against abortion. This candidate's against abortion in all cases, right? And the host said, the left is going to say that you're a crazy lady who wants to now take away their right to contraception. And she basically said, yeah, that's right. If this issue came before the Michigan state legislature, that is the right to contraception, I think that the rights to contraception should be rolled back. That's a small example. It's only one person, although a Donald Trump endorsed candidate in Michigan. That is kind of crazy that people are hearing and saying, well, wait a minute, this is getting real fast. And I think that's what you're seeing both in terms of the energy on the Democratic side and some of the weakness on the Republican side on these generic ballot polls, is that the crazy has gotten very tangible. It's gotten very real for people with the question of Roe v. Wade being repealed.
Yeah, and you look at the Alito draft, and the Alito draft actually it tears out the foundational support not just of Roe v. Wade, but also Griswold,
right,
the right for contraception, Loving, the right for interracial marriage. There's so many of these rights that are now at risk, and just because Alito said, "Oh, I know that what we've done actually undermines all of the support for contraception and all of these other issues, but don't worry about it. It doesn't have to do with abortion, so you have no reason to worry about it." Well, no, he can't decide what's a precedent and what's not a precedent.